Hey, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to share with you some techniques that I use to draw tires. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the front or back view of a tire. So let's start off with just drawing a rectangular shape. And this is like a head-on view of the tire. And it's true that you can use a cylinder or a rectangle if it's in the front view to go ahead and approximate a tire. But one thing that you want to also consider too is the fact that tires are rounded on the edges. So we're going to create some extra lines on either side and just simply round off the tire. And in some cases, you'll actually see a curve underneath and a little curve up above. And that's what gives us that front view of the tire. And with that, tread, which is what is used on the tire to maintain a grip on the road, comes in different forms. So if we duplicate this, we'll just talk about two different types of treads that you can create. And for all of these lines that I'm creating, I'm holding down the Shift key to create a straight line. So the simplest tread that we can create is basically just this standard, linear tread is what I'm going to call it. And I'm just hitting Command J to make copies, and I'll merge these layers and continue along. So making multiple copies and duplicating them just makes it easier. So this is like a standard, what I would call linear tread. There's not as much grip on it. It's usually meant for speed, right? And then the other type of tread that we have here is like the knobby tires that you would normally see. So what we can do here is, and I'll pick a different color just to make it easier for you to see. We'll split this in the middle. And what we'll do is we'll then create a set of horizontal lines that are going to be equally spaced out from one another. So here's my first horizontal line on its own layer. Command J to make a copy of it, and then Command J again. And we'll rinse and repeat that. I like to make a couple of copies and merge them. This is a really, really powerful way of making multiple copies. You don't want to have to create every single line from scratch. You want to work smart. All right, so I can get rid of the excess here. And now tread. So tread comes in different forms. I'll just go ahead and talk about the simplest way that you can visualize tread. At least it helps me out. You're going to look at the middle here, and we'll just draw lines that are going to alternate. It's just little markers. And what we're going to do is we're just going to draw one curve. It's going to look something like this. These are just curved lines that are going from the edge towards the line that we created. It doesn't have to be super precise. I'm going a little bit fast here. You can also make copies, which, now that I think about it, I could have done that too. And on the opposite side, you're just going to alternate. So I'll just pick a different color here just to make it easier to see. And why don't we just use the smart way? We'll just hit Command J and we'll rinse and repeat so that you can see that that gives it a much more consistent look. Now, there are so many different types of tire patterns and tread patterns that are out there. So you'll have to just look at the one that you want to do and break it up into something that you can understand. So, and I'll just do one more here, up here at the top. And there's probably also another tread that's, kind of raised over here too. So that's the basic idea of creating different types of tread patterns. Now let's apply this to a vehicle. So what I'll do is I'll take all of this information that I have here, I'll group it, I'll hide it, I'll toggle my new layer out, and I've got this thing called car body, which I will go ahead and use for my demo. So I've already drawn this previously. And what I love to do, and I think I might have mentioned this in other videos, is I love to go ahead and look at photos of cars that are in a junkyard. And this is my way of bringing them back. So I'll start on a separate layer here. I'll start from the middle and draw a set of lines that go down to the bottom. And we can see that this is a 2-point perspective drawing, right? So there's some kind of implied vanishing point that's all the way off to the left. And so what I'll do is I'll just basically create a line that is at an angle that also leads to the same vanishing point, roughly. Now that vanishing point is going to be off the page here. And then similarly, we have a set of vanishing points. If we look at these lines over here, these will all converge to some point off in the distance. So I'll just approximate that by creating a line over here. Drawing that box, that perspective box, that 2-point perspective box is so important to understand. It's really a game changer when it comes to being able to draw things that look believable. So once you have established, where these lines are going to be, and these lines are going to serve for the placement of the wheels, we can consider, okay, we want to make this kind of a, one of those monster vehicles, or do we want to go ahead and make it, something that's more sedate and normal? Well, I'm going to go ahead and make something that's more, beefy and muscular. So I'll just start off by drawing an oval like so. And what I'll do is I'll just make another curve over here. I'm visualizing this as a cylinder. I'll start off with that cylinder. And what I'll do on top of that is, in order to mimic that curvature of the tire, I'll just add another line like this, another line on the inside, right? This is going to represent where that tire is going to curve. And then from there, find the midpoint on both ends and draw another line that goes down. I'll just kind of curve that out a little bit more. And then from here, you can go ahead and draw your guidelines here. And keep in mind, those guidelines are going to ascribe to the same 2-point perspective. They're going to angle in such a way that they're going to coincide with the vanishing point on the right-hand side. So we've got more or less everything in place here. And I'll just finish this wheel out here too. So what about the interior part, the hubcap area? Well, if I'm drawing this where I'm looking at this tire from an angle, I want to make sure that the edge on the left is going to be shorter than the edge on the right. So I will create a circle that looks something like this. It's going to be more oval, and the right thickness is going to be larger than the left thickness. And then from there, I can, put the actual hubcap for the tire. From there, what I can do is I can use that same technique that I showed you earlier, just create these little dots or lines that are alternating, and then draw your curves. Now, in this case, I am going to draw every single one because copying and pasting is just going to take more time for me from this view. But you can see that I've been able to flesh that out pretty quick. And then we'll just alternate it on the opposite side. And we have something that looks like that. Now, the last thing I like to do for this particular tire is I just want to get rid of this hard edge. I want to connote the idea that this is a rounded tire. So I'll just go ahead and kind of clean this up a little bit. And I'll just put a small thin line, maybe with some little curves, so it doesn't look super duper stiff and, just like, I don't want it to look like a cylinder. I want it to have a little bit more roundness too. And similarly, And I've mentioned this on videos in the past. It's like you can also just get rid of that whole bottom area, because if the car is going to be resting on something, usually what you'll see in these drawings, that the car is somehow embedded into, it's going to flatten the tire. It's going to flatten itself a little bit where it actually touches the ground. So I've got that first wheel. Now what I can do is I'm going to go ahead and make a second wheel, draw this a little bit bigger. Let's put some big meats on this guy. So we'll just draw a much thicker tire for the back and make this a little bit smaller. Again, the right thickness is going to be greater than the left thickness. And then from here, you could have some fun by having 3 lines here, right? And let's just go ahead and draw. I'll make these a little bit wider, these tread patterns a little bit wider. And so what I can do is I can say, all right, here, every alternate is going to be like that. Maybe for the middle, we have a square. So I'll put the square, I'll have it line up. And then for the opposite side, these will alternate. And so now I've got a tread pattern that is unique for this particular vehicle. Now for the other side here, well, before I go to the other side, let's just go ahead and round this off as well. Get rid of that really thick line here. The thicker the line, the harder the edge. So I'm just trying to make that less emphasized. I'll clean this up here so you can see what that tire looks like a little bit better. And then for the opposite side here, I'll just go back. I can't put the wheel all the way out like this. It's going to be on the inside. So I'll just go ahead and make a curve that suggests where that distant wheel is going to end. And do the same thing for this opposite wheel. Just go ahead and extend the line all the way out. You might see a hint of that wheel like so, right? And this is going to be ensconced in shadow, so we're not really going to worry about that too much. So I can just fill this in. And that shadow will actually carry a little bit more forward, right? I have to close my gaps. And so I have something that looks like this. And of course, then you want to add your suspension and all the other stuff that I guess goes towards making your car look like it's not just floating with wheels. You want to look at some references. Talked about references in a previous video and how they're so important. And now we've got a muscle car. And just for giggles, I'll just go ahead and get rid of that to make that look a little bit more like it's grounded. And so there you go. And I'll just finish this off real quick with cutting into that shadow. And now we've got our muscle car. So that's a little bit about drawing tread and drawing tires. I know that can be kind of tricky. A lot of tire catalogs online can serve as a good starting point. They will show you what the wheel looks like, but they'll also show you the front view of the tread. And that could be really important when you're trying to capture something that's already there in real life. So I hope you found this video to be of value. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you've got any questions about this. What do you struggle with when you draw cars? Let me know. I'm curious. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.